Have you ever pondered about the darkest corners of our history? Ever wondered who malevolent leaders of the 20th century were? Today, we're going to delve into the life of a man whose reign of terror resulted in the deaths of millions of his own people. Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the most intriguing and chilling aspects of history. Today, we're embarking on a journey into the life and times of Joseph Stalin, one of the most evil leaders of the 20th century.
The making of Tyrant.
Picture this: a world where every move you make is scrutinized, where a single word against the government could lead to your execution. This was the reality for millions of people living in the Soviet Union under the rule of Joseph Stalin. But how did this man rise to such power? Let's rewind to the beginning. The early years.
The early 20th century was a time of great upheaval. The country was transitioning from a monarchy to a communist state, and the people were desperate for change. Enter Joseph Stalin, a man who promised to bring prosperity and equality to the masses. Born into poverty, Stalin's early life was marked by hardship and violence, shaping him into a ruthless and cunning.
Rise to power. Stalin's rise to power was marked by cunning and brutality. He quickly rose through the ranks of the Communist Party, anyone who stood in his way. His tactics were ruthless, his ambition unquenchable. He manipulated, deceived, and murdered his way to the top, leaving a trail of blood in his wake. The Reign of Terror.
Once in power, Stalin implemented a series of policies that would forever change the face of Russia. His reign was marked by a ruthless disregard for human life. He implemented a series of purges known as the Great Purge, where millions of people were or sent to labor camps. He also forced the collectivization of agriculture, leading to widespread famine and the deaths of millions more.
The Great Purge. The Great Purge was a campaign of political repression and persecution. Millions of people were tortured and executed on Stalin's orders. The Purge was a terrifying display of Stalin's power and his willingness to eliminate anyone he perceived as a threat. The Famine. Stalin's forced collectivization of agriculture led to one of the most devastating famines in history. Millions of people starved to death as a result of his policies. Yet, Stalin remained indifferent to their suffering, viewing it as a necessary sacrifice for the progress of the Soviet Union. The propaganda machine. Despite the horrors of his reign, Stalin was hailed a hero by many in the Soviet Union. His propaganda machine worked tirelessly to portray him as a benevolent leader who was the country towards a bright future. But behind the propaganda, the reality was much. The legacy of Stalin. Stalin's reign finally came to an end in 1953 when he died of a cerebral hemorrhage. But his legacy lives on. Despite the horrors of his reign, many in Russia still view him as a hero. But those who suffered under his rule, he will always be remembered as one of the most evil leaders of the 20th century. Industrialization and 5-year plans. Stalin's reign wasn't just marked by mass murder. He also implemented a series of policies aimed at modernizing the Soviet Union. He launched a series of 5-year plans aimed at industrializing the country and making it a global superpower. These plans focused on rapid industrialization and the collectivization of agriculture. But these policies came at a great cost. The cost of progress. Millions of people were forced to work in harsh conditions, and many died as a result. The labor camps, known as gulags, were notorious for their conditions. Prisoners were forced to work long hours with little food rest. Many died from exhaustion, malnutrition, or the harsh weather conditions. The cult of personality. Despite the horrors of his reign, Stalin was hailed a hero in the Soviet Union. His propaganda machine worked tirelessly to portray him as a benevolent leader who was leading the country towards a bright future. He created a cult of personality around himself, presenting himself as a father figure who was guiding the Soviet Union towards a utopian future. The final years. Stalin's reign finally came to an end in 1953 when he died of a cerebral hemorrhage. But his legacy lives on. Despite the horrors of his reign, many in Russia still view him as a hero. But for those who suffered under his rule, he will always be remembered as one of the most evil leaders of the 20th century. History is not just about the past, but also about how we interpret it. Stalin's reign is a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of standing up against tyranny. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights into history. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.